All right. Hey, Rob. So, why don't you tell my audience why they'll probably enjoy your movie, This Too Shall Pass?
Um, it's my slanted version of a coming of age story. I grew up in the genre world, actually doing mostly horror movies, thriller stuff, and it was just through COVID and things going crazy and conversations with my dad about regrets and things I wanted to always do. And one of them was my version of a Dazed and Confused or Stand By Me, but I obviously needed the right story to crack it open, and that came through our wonderful producer Michael Baker, who is the real life protagonist in the movie. And that one thing led to another, and it just turned out that I realized that the for a teenager, a lot of their problems feel like life and death, social status, relationships, all that stuff. And so I felt like my horror instincts kind of played really well into doing that version of a coming of age story.
Oh my. So, wow. There's a lot of stuff going on there in your response. So was it always horror was your sort of your first love, you'd say?
I mean, I grew up watching everything, even like Spielberg, the Indiana Jones and stuff, but I always found myself watching a lot of talking, like heavy talking stuff, like Richard Linklater and John Cassavetes and stuff. And that always seemed to have bled into my horror films. So the genre festivals, I'd be like, this isn't quite horror. And so it was like only natural to just lead into more of the dramatic elements.
Oh my. All right. And so you grew up watching everything, and what are some other coming of age movies that you liked a lot?
I mean, yeah, John Hughes is obviously a huge one. Like my watching Ferris Bueller's Day Off for the first time for me was like blew my mind, mo mainly because my high school life was completely different. I did not have everything figured out like Ferris, It's like it just like Simon says in the movies, they're not meant to be your life. It's what if your life was like this or could be. So,
Oh,
John Hughes is probably number one though.
do you have a favorite one by him? Is it Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
Breakfast Club maybe is my sneaky second, just because again, it's got a bit of that chamber drama where it's actually just mostly them sitting and kind of contemplating and revealing characters through dialogue and stuff. So maybe I'll say Breakfast Club. Ferris is
Okay.
more of the fantasy.
Oh, okay. Well, this movie was funny for me because I live in Ottawa. I'm here in Ottawa right now.
Amazing.
So why don't you tell people about the Ottawa connection in your movie?
That came from Michael Baker, whose his road trip was on a he grew up Mormon in a very religious household and took a weekend to go chase a girl to Ottawa. And so like through our conversations, it was, learning about all like the old areas that a 16-year-old could try to go find alcohol, procure drinks, spend the night in hotels. All the sneaky stuff is that's in the movie is kind of based on those conversations of how it really happened. The credit card fraud was a real thing. So that was our connection to Ottawa. I made it, I think originally they went from like Toronto to Ottawa, but I opened it up to be United States, Syracuse to Ottawa, just to open it up a little bit more and make it a bit more fish out of water.
Fair, fair. And was it shot in Ottawa? Where did you shoot those scenes?
I'm glad you couldn't tell because it was all shot in Calgary. So, yeah. But it was extensively reproduced by referencing our producer, making sure that everything kind of felt right.
Beautiful. I actually didn't think it was shot in Ottawa.
Close enough.
You're right, 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 right.
Yeah.
It was definitely Canada, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's all fine.
Mhm.
So, all right. So you've sort of broken things down. The producer, he's the one with the Mormon background
Yep.
and all that. Um, so I guess you didn't have those sort of repressive upbringing.
I had the Catholic guilt. I grew up in a pretty religious Catholic household, went to Catholic elementary school, and then to a public high school, which was my big, like, oh my gosh, is this the real world? So we actually bonded over a lot of the similar things. And I think that was kind of one of our bigger conversations with the story. It was never meant to be attack on, Mormon religion or any religion per se, but I feel like everyone has or can connect with some sort of strict rebellion that they're trying to break free of to find out who they really are.
Okay, that's interesting. I see a connective tissue, but I feel like, Morbid's kind of next level in terms of the rules, right?
They've got some pretty strong rules. They do.
Yeah, yeah. They're sort of known for that. But
Yeah.
okay, so tell me about your dad. Why do you dedicate this film to your dad?
It was during COVID, everyone's locked in the house, not able to do anything. And then my dad's cancer diagnosis reemerged. So for, the better part of 2.5 years, I wasn't able to see anyone because I was afraid I was going to bring him COVID. So it was just me, my wife, and my dad taking care of my dad. And, the guy was 69 years old and dealing with terminal cancer. And to hear him have talk about the regrets that he still had at that age kind of is what gave me the motivation to be like, I got to stop being afraid and get to doing the things that I really want to do before I run out of time myself. So wrote that thing entirely while he was with us. He passed away, didn't get a chance to see the final movie, so that's kind of why it was dedicated to him. The original script was much darker for a while, and then it was just more and more realizing I'm like, I need to feel a little bit better about what's going on in the world and with my life. So it kind of turned into a much sweeter story because of that.
Yeah, I think that's sort of something in life, when we get bad news or we're upset about something, you go to dark places, but eventually you have to kind of accept and move on, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's part of like a lot of those final conversations, and just that whole experience of my father's terminal illness kind of bled into a lot of the characters and the conversations that they have about. I'm 41 right now, so it kind of put me into my own midlife crisis as well, that bled into these characters having their early life crisis, and it just kind of felt right for everyone seems to be having the same conversations about what's the true meaning of their life, who are they really, and how do you move forward.
I guess, it's good to be to have a belief system and it could give you comfort at hard times. But I guess maybe it could go a little too far. And maybe we could be a little harsh on ourselves with these
Mhm.
numbers that come up. I'm 37, I'll be 40 soon enough. And
Yeah.
we could all say, "Oh, I didn't do this, I didn't do that." But don't you have to sort of take stock in yourself and sort of love yourself and be happy with what you did do? I mean, is it all so bad? Are we all just, weak and pathetic? I think, what do you think about that?
No, you sound like what my therapist grills into me. It's all about remind gratitude is the best thing that I get get told by my therapist is for everything that's going wrong, you still have to remind yourself of all the things that have gone right. And I think a part of that in the movie too with the characters is as much as things go completely sour, they still have things to fall back on. And at the end of the day, even as much trouble as Simon gets into, he's still got to come home and have a reckoning with his father about how life is going to be moving forward. And I think, yeah, it's, between gratitude and facing these things, these troubles, these pressures head on is kind of what was working through during the movie.
Cool, cool. All right. With all that in mind, what's your message to the well-meaning but overbearing parents out there?
That's a tough one because they all mean well, right? It's a protective reflex to try to make sure that your kid doesn't get into trouble. But there's certainly, and I've had these conversations with my parents too. It's like if you bubble them too much, they don't get to experience the things, and then when they do experience them, they don't know how to handle them correctly either. So it's kind of like there has to be a level of exposure to certain things, otherwise you will never know how to deal with them, nor will you go back to them if there's trouble or if you need if advice is ever needed. So I'm not a parent. I'd be afraid to be one, but yeah, just because of all the trouble that I got into. But yeah, there has to be a certain level of exposure that you should recognize a child needs to stressors in the real world.
Yes, I'm not a parent either, but we are both sons, and we have ideas of what parenthood it
Yeah,
should be about. And
yeah,
plus, movies are really there as, if anything, like a helpful reminder of what that can be like and what those dynamics can be like. And these stories can sort of are more than just like a yard. They sort of humanize real things that we all go through, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's optimism of youth was the thing that kind of caught me by surprise in writing the script, is that I had felt like I had lost a bit of that, and so it was a nice reminder to try to bring some of that back.
Okay, well then, did your younger actors did they help you as well? Did they make you less jaded?
I don't think anyone tries to stop me from being jaded, luckily, or unfortunately.
Okay.
But but no, it's between me and the producers who are all in their 40s or older, to work with a bunch of really talented real 18-year-olds to 16-year-olds. It was, there's a certain energy that they have, and yeah, the optimism of youth is something. But again, like the conversations that one of the characters, Misty, brings up about being a cynic and not wanting to disappoint her future self and being protective of that, it's like that resonated heavily with them too. So I think the reason the John Hughes movies worked so well is that they don't treat their teenagers like teenagers. They have real adult thoughts. They're more self-aware of what the future is like and what holds for them than we give them credit for sometimes, I think.
All right. What do you think about this? I was talking to a creative person the other day, and he was telling me what he is creating, what he's writing, he has a chip on his shoulder. He
Mm,
compares himself to the greats. He wants to do the best possible thing that he can. But he
mhm.
when he's socializing amongst his peers and like creators as well, he puts it aside. He's nice to everybody.
Mhm.
And then all that sort of is over when you're with people. What do you think about
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. I mean, I guess you got to be careful about which one's the front and which one's the one you actually believe, if there's that dichotomy, right? I think you have to, too much of either side might be, is trouble. If I was writing something and I didn't believe that it was something worthwhile, I don't know how I'd find the motivation to do it. Or if I thought I would get booed out of the building, I'd also have a tough time doing it as well. So
But like,
I
isn't it important just to when you're amongst people, just to appreciate that in itself, and like as a parent, you kind of try your best, and then you instill things, but maybe you don't want to keep repeating yourself and be like a big old jerk.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, I guess the recognition is that everyone's just trying the best they can, regardless of whether other people perceive it or not. But
All right.
yeah, when it comes to that dichotomy, I'm usually more on the self-deprecating side, and that usually actually motivates me to keep doing redrafts because I'm like, this is not good enough, and I'm not up there with the best of the best.
All right. Okay. All right. Well, that's fair enough, and that's maybe hopefully inspiring to people as well to hear that. So, what is your favorite movie bit of the year so far?
Whoa, what the heck have I watched this year? I just watched Weapons that I thought was like really clever. Uh, and not very many horror movies are doing the repeating storylines from multiple perspective these days. So I was like, it was a refreshing take for me. Uh, what the heck else have I seen that really knocked my socks off? I mean, Anora, I was probably late to the party, but Anora was one of my favorites of the year. Again, lots of talking, but probably Sean Baker's most driving movie of the year. So, or that he's done. So I'm gonna go Anora. Yeah, let's do that.
Well, Adora was last year.
I only saw it this year though, so
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Well, fair enough, fair enough. All right. Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And the movie's cool. One more question.
yep.
How would you describe your priorities while working on set?
I do not like loud yelling on noisy sets, so for me, it's a gentle director. I like calm sets. I feel we're at our best when it's treated like summer camp and we're all given the room to fail because I think people are too afraid of that and they need to be given the room to try stuff, knowing it could be completely wrong, but at least, hey, we got to play and have fun trying it. So that's kind of my style, I'd say.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael.